We can. We should be overhead in a moment. It's getting on the 60 freeway eastbound out of East LA, headed towards the 710 freeway interchange. We understand it was driving, the vehicle was into oncoming traffic in Westwood on Wilshire Boulevard. It started in Irwindale, 605 at Live Oak, and it's a stolen van that had dropped off two suspects during the pursuit and then continued on. So that was the Westwood area. It looks like the officers continued on the pursuit, and now we're in East LA. So we don't have a great shot of it yet, but we will have a better shot. Our closure rate is pretty good right now. We're in downtown, and the pursuit once again is a van. So, boy, anytime you look at a vehicle that's big and that heavy and that high center of gravity, making sharp turns at a high rate of speed, that is had to be taken into consideration. That could be very dangerous. Also, you have to take into the fact that it's much more difficult to pit the car, a van like that, if it gets out onto the streets. But the pursuit right now is on the 60 freeway eastbound, just coming up on the 710, I believe. You stop, Michelle? You stop, Michelle? That's correct. Well, we haven't heard of any collisions, although traveling at this high rate of speed, that certainly is possible. Haven't heard of an accident, but I'm certain, that he's been very close to other vehicles, especially driving into oncoming traffic on Wilshire Boulevard in the Westwood area. Now, as we get a little bit closer, it appears to me that possibly he got off of the freeway, and we're going to be in the East LA area, off of the 60 freeway, north of the 60. But it's real difficult to get a gauge until we get just a little bit closer. But we have not heard of any accidents yet, but we do know the vehicle is traveling into oncoming traffic. There's not a lot of traffic volume this time of the morning, but certainly there must have been a few cars coming at the vehicle, so they must have had a swerve to get out of the way. We're trying to get more information on exactly where this is, and when we get right overhead, it's fantastic. We can bring up SkyMap 7. We'll have the real-time speed tracking, and with extreme vision, we'll be able to look right inside that vehicle, and we should be right over top here in just a moment. I'm trying to get a gauge. I believe that that's the vehicle on the surface street, but as I mentioned just a moment ago, we're at the fire. We're trucking here as fast as we can, and we should be overhead in a moment. There goes the patrol cars, and I'm trying to see. You may see better than I do, Leslie and Brandy, because the monitors are pretty small in here. If you see the white van, just making a right turn, and it looks like we can start to bring up SkyMap 7, and I believe that's Indiana Street. It's off just a little bit because of our distance and the perspective at this point, the way it's compressed. But it appears that we're on Indiana, headed southbound, passing 3rd Street, and headed back towards the 60 freeway. There's the 60 freeway, and we have the patrol car. We haven't been able to pick up the van yet, but we should be able to pick that up at any moment. Dittman. There it is.
Is not good news. Hopefully they will be able to do a pit maneuver or
through a red light,
some kind of end to this situation. We have a clear view of him now. We know that at least one person is in that stolen van, having dropped off 1 to 2 people earlier. We see coming to an intersection, blowing through the stop sign right there, and getting on what freeway is that, Scott?
This This is going to be the 5 freeway traveling back northbound into East Los Angeles. You know, we saw that van go right through a red light with no hesitation on a surface street above 60 miles an hour. Now, right there, it shows you the speed of the vehicle. It'll vary a little from time to time, depending on where we're looking. The more we look straight down, the more accurate it is. But we can tell because we're looking straight down, we're looking at speeds now approaching 90 miles an hour once again, going back some of the other cars or past those cars fairly quickly. Now, you mentioned the time of the morning. This time of the morning, I'm not seeing a lot of traffic. A little congestion on the 5 North up into the East LA area, but overall traffic is fairly light considering what we're going to see here for rush hour. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, things really will make a change. So it's on the 5 freeway coming into what we call the East LA interchange. So that's where the 5 freeway runs into the 60. If you went to the east, the Santa Monica freeway. If you went to the west, the 101 through the slot right into downtown, or it continues on the 5 and heads up through Boyle Heights towards County General Hospital. So that's the interchange he's at right now, and we'll see just in a moment. If he stays in that right lane, I believe he'll continue on the 5 northbound and head up into the East LA area or Boyle Heights. Although it's tricky because right here is the split. He may actually get on the 101 northbound through downtown, or he could still get on the Santa Monica freeway westbound. So we'll have that in just a moment. But there's a big interchange, a lot of transition roads, and if I'm seeing this correctly, it looks like he's getting on the Santa Monica freeway westbound.
And Scott, what police agencies are following him?
Well, CHP is the lead authority behind the vehicle at this point in time. And, you know, I'm seeing here, I'm trying to see, it may got off onto an off-ramp. It probably would be Alameda. There he goes. It's a transition road onto the Santa Monica freeway westbound. Now, it's interesting. You know, we see this with these pursuits quite often, that the suspect will go back into an area that they've already gone through. And that's what we're seeing. You know, we took the Santa Monica freeway eastbound out of the Westwood area, south on the 405, into Wilshire there for a little bit on Westwood, or on Wilshire Boulevard, heading into oncoming traffic. Back on the 405, east Santa Monica, out to the 60 freeway, onto some surface streets, down to the 5, and now back on the Santa Monica freeway westbound. And it looks like we're coming up on LA Street on the Santa Monica westbound, just south of downtown Los Angeles, and you can see some acceleration there. The SkyMap speed will catch up when we get straight down. It's most accurate, but we're looking at speeds around 80 miles an hour, and you can see how he's passing some of the other vehicles fairly quickly. Now, CHP was the lead agency. I believe LAPD is now in charge of this. They have a helicopter overhead, so it changes from time to time. But what's interesting, the stolen vehicle, it started all the way out in Irwindale. It's a 605 at Live Oak, so it really the vehicle has really traveled a long distance. I don't know if that's where the vehicle was stolen or if that's where they actually started the pursuit. We started to get on this and get information about it when it was in Studio City.
It's interesting to look at his change in speeds, too. It shows you how uncertain he is at certain moments compared to how certain he is in others. He's making decisions and trying to stay on which freeway, deciding which one to go, slowing down to 50 miles an hour at times on the freeways, but then knowing where he's going and flying through stoplights at 70-plus miles per hour on city streets, trying to get back to a freeway entrance. He got really lucky, Scott, as far as that interchange goes, where the 5, 101, 10, 60, everything comes together, because during a normal day, that would have been bottlenecked. You can't move. But at this hour at 5 a.m., he's been coasting really easily on these freeways with very little traffic.
Yeah, it's so dangerous given the visibility right now. It's dark out there. It's already dangerous when you've got a pursuit on a freeway in broad daylight, but you can't see anything. And the people on the road certainly, not expecting something like this. And it is difficult to see, but he has been going at high speeds, very high rates of speed throughout this pursuit, erratically driving, and we see him just passing up cars on the freeway. Fortunately, there have been no accidents. He hasn't clipped any vehicles, but at this high rate of speed, if you clips a vehicle, it could be deadly. I mean, the rates of speed really dangerous. Now he is merging. What do you see there, Scott, onto the 10?
No, I believe we just got off the 10 onto the 110 freeway northbound, if I'm not mistaken, headed right through the heart of downtown Los Angeles. And, you know, it's all about timing as far as traffic is concerned. The North 110 is going to be okay. The Santa Monica westbound, that gets really crowded just in probably the next 10 to 15 minutes. So as far as traffic is concerned, it's all about timing. I could tell you, though, you know, Brandy, you talk about the way the driver, the suspect, is looking at things when he slows down at certain spots. You know, I've done that on many pursuits. You try and maybe get into their mindset just a little bit. Boy, it's really difficult to do that because they're so erratic and so unpredictable. Now, we hope he stays on the 110 freeway northbound through downtown because this gets really tricky for us. Because if he gets down into buildings, we have to look straight down to stay on top of him, and it's very difficult for us to follow. There he made an erratic turn to get off of the freeway. I believe this is going to be maybe 5th Street or 6th Street. It's 6th Street right there. That off-ramp goes to both 5th and 6th. And I was hoping he wouldn't do this, right? Because this becomes really tricky for us to cover because we got to look straight down in between the buildings. And sometimes they'll make a turn and we'll lose them. You know, we're really trying to make sure that doesn't happen. So just crossing Figueroa, I believe that is 6th Street. When we have a little better angle, we'll come up on SkyMap. And you can see now down to the buildings. But it also gets dangerous. We saw him on Indiana. Look at that. Into oncoming traffic for a moment. We saw him on Indiana run right through a red light at 60 miles an hour. Now, fortunately, that one's green. But with an erratic suspect like this, you know, depending on how desperate they are, they start running red lights, and that's when somebody could get hurt or killed.
Oh, there he is right there, going through another intersection. That seems to be a one-way street, though, right, Scott? But you know what? He's going to... there's construction downtown in many places as well.
Well,
look at that.
He barely missed that
right
car
there.
Going through that intersection. Still going on his speeds. I see there 45, 50, 60, increasing speeds there. I wonder if he's going to make a left-hand turn. Go on, Scott.
So, yeah, that's north on Maple. And we'll see the vehicle come out. But, boy, I tell you, when you follow these things and you see a suspect that will run through a red light with, you know, no regard for their safety or the safety of others, that's when these things get really dangerous. Look at that. He jumped out of the vehicle. I think that might be the driver. Yep. Hold on. Did the vehicle stop? If you open up a little bit, Jamie, did the car stop? It looks like it's stopping. You have to push in. I think that's the driver. I don't think there's anybody else left in that vehicle.
And he is...
Let's go back to the suspect.
He appears
there he is, right there. Looks like he might have gotten up. He didn't get up. Look at that. They're asking us to stay wide. Oh, there comes a patrol car. I'm not sure why they're asking us to stay so wide, but we're doing what we're being told to.
Yeah. There may be something going on with him, too, Scott.
He appears to be unconscious. He just fell out of that car. Don't know if he harmed himself or what he did.